to take you on a quick tour of the interface of Aurora HDR 2017. We've got the histogram layers, and if I press the plus sign, you can see the different layer options. You also have the ability to do blending modes on each of those layers, which is a nice feature, as well as changing the opacity. Then down in the tools, we've got quite a few different tools that only this software has. So HDR tone mapping, color, structure, HDR denoise, image radiance, polarizing filter, details, glow, the top and bottom adjustment, tone curve, hue, saturation, luminance, color toning, and vignette. And then down here at the bottom, if you press this little circle, you're given the different options of the presets that come with this software. You can also add your own and customize those. Then we do have a cropping tool, as well as the before and after view. And then if we go back over here, we've got the hand tool that allows you to move around the screen, as well as a brush for masking. You've got your presets button, your layers button, and then here in the histogram, which is a nice feature, is the luminosity masking, and it is based on a zone system. So if I press 0, it picks up those in that zone, and I can choose what zones I want to have included in a mask. I'll show you a little bit later more detail of that. From my presets, I have added the neutral. And if I click on any of these presets, I have the ability to change the opacity of that. So if I feel like that's too strong of a preset, then I can lower that opacity and have it less dramatic. So that's a nice feature. Up here, what you'll notice is that any of the adjustments to the tools that was made in this preset, the tool name has been highlighted in yellow. So as you can see, these have all been adjusted. If at any point you want to reset, let's say we put the denoise amount and I don't actually want that denoise, I can press this and it resets that slider. Another great addition to this software is the top and bottom adjustment, and this works great on landscape photography where you have a very distinct horizon line. So down here you can shift the tool around and it acts as a neutral density filter. So I can adjust the top part of the scene, darken it a little bit, and adjust the contrast separately from the bottom part of the scene. Now that I've chosen a preset, I want to introduce you to luminosity masking. First, I will add a new layer, an adjustment layer. And then under the histogram is one place to find the mask, and another is by pressing the paintbrush and finding it over here. Both are exactly the same in terms of the zone system. So if I want to choose just the dark areas, that would be the 0. And if I want to choose the highlights, which would be my sky area, then I would choose all the gray and white tones. So if I'm happy with this choice, then I go ahead and click on the check mark, or over here, create luminosity mask. Now if I only want the sky to be affected, then I can go ahead and see what the actual mask looks like, and some of the water and some of the foreground has been chosen. So I'm going to increase my brush size, and then I'm going to go ahead and erase out the areas where I do not want that mask. So I'm going to do this real quick and touch on the mountain a little bit. And I can turn the mask back off, and now that layer can be adjusted. So I can go through and darken my sky, increase contrast, maybe add some warm color to make it look more like a sunset, and make it real obvious so that you can really see what's going on. So as you can see on that, if I turn it off with this little yellow button, you can see what effects I've made. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. I can add more clarity into the sky to make it look more dramatic, and a little bit more HDR structure. Now normally I probably wouldn't do that to this sky, only because I don't want it to compete with my foreground, but for demonstration purposes I'm showing you more or less the most obvious of what can be done with this software. I can change the tones of the colors. So that one looks a little bit more like, possibly like sunset without being real odd. So I'm going to go ahead now and add an additional layer. I'm going to add an adjustment layer again. And this time I'm going to focus on the water. So I'm going to choose my brush. And I'm not going to do a luminosity mask this time. I just want to show you the other options you have in terms of making a mask. And so I have my tool, my brush options, and basically painting in and painting out, or you can use your option key as well. So I'll go ahead and start painting in. And if I want to see what that mask is doing, I can go ahead and click that on and continue painting. So I'll do a quick job. Alright, so I've got the river chosen, and I'm just going to try and do some real obvious things to it without making it look too horrible. And because it was a really muddy river, I want to cut down on the saturation, make it look a little bit more like it's clear. A little more vibrance. Alright, so there's a good spot for the river to be. And I can add an additional layer, an adjustment layer. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the Radial Mask. And as you can see, I can adjust the shape to focus if I have a center of focus that I want to bring a little bit more information into. At this point, it's going to just adjust anything that is in the red, or you can invert it, and that is the area that will be affected. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And then we have the gradient mask. And on that, you can move this around. And that is what's going to be affected at this point. Or you can rotate it. And you can also increase the feather size. So I'm going to turn that off. And so I'm going to go back to my original image. And I can make further adjustments at this point based on the changes that I've made. A lot of times I like to do my vignette at this point. So I'll go ahead and add a vignette and increase the size, make it just a little darker, and add some feathering. And this vignette also has an inner light, which is nice, so it not only darkens the edges but brightens up the center. So I can bring the center up and then darken the outside just a little bit more. And turn these back on. So now everything is on, and this is my final image. I can look at my before and after. So the before image is fairly dull, and the after image really pops a lot of color and drama into that scene. So now I'll go ahead and go through pros and cons of AuroraHDR 2017. Some of the pros of AuroraHDR 2017 include Lightroom integration, where it can act as a standalone, has a great variety of tools to help make this an all-in-one software. The layers can be selectively enhanced along with blending modes and opacity sliders. It has a zone system-based luminosity masking. The highlighting of the tools that have been used is a nice feature. Export options that include being able to send directly to social media, and you can save the image with the layers. The cons are halos can occur with the HDR generated image prior to adjustments. Choosing ghost reduction can lead to some issues within the image. The masking brush doesn't detect edges. It would be nice if I could keep all the layers turned on while I further adjusted the original. This software only works on Macs, but a Windows version should be released in the fall of 2017. Some people complain about a speed issue, but my Mac seemed to handle the software just fine. And the shadow recovery can be a problem. So, there you have it with Aurora HDR 2017. Thanks!